Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
We've had our ups and downs, our smiles and frowns. 2016, you spontaneous son of a pun. This is your slice. Join myself, Simon, and Nick, as we drop details on a buttonless new iPad and bring the beat back with Apple's 808 documentary. Plus, Apple award the best of 2016, and we take to the stage with the Romeo and Juliet iPhone edition. And like a SeaWorld seal show, prepare for the splash zone in a juicy and jovial apple slice. $20 million paid subscribers. Apple Music has now surpassed 20 million paid subscribers. Okay, this has happened in the 17 months that it's been out. That's pretty impressive, don't you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that's what Spotify was on when Apple Music launched.
Yeah, they've just really just coming up behind them. And, you know, I'm not sure, what is Spotify at the moment? Not really.
I thought it was at like 40. It seemed like they'd grown at the same pace.
But they're definitely, that is a short amount of time, and that's quite impressive. So, we'll keep reporting when they're hitting milestones there. And just another bit of news, Apple Slice is now on TuneIn Radio. If you use TuneIn to listen to your podcast, you can check us out there. Okay, this is the last episode for 2016. No, but we will return around January 9th. So rest assured, there's definitely Apple news to be listened to next year. And we're only away for that bit of a holiday break. But of course, if you want the updates, you can follow us on any of our social media accounts, which we will read out at the end. Okay, so going to hit it off with product perception, as always. Apple recently put out a web page that you could input your serial of your iPhone 6S to see if it's eligible for a battery replacement. Now, these serials are from iPhone 6S units that were sold between launch and then the month after, so September, October. Now, my wife's 6S has this issue. It gets to about 40% and it might do a random shut-off. Now, this hasn't happened the whole time. It's sort of only been since about iOS 10. So I initially thought it might be a software thing. And so she sort of has the issue every now and then. And I thought, okay, might have to do a DFU reset or something. But anyway, I decided to just put in the serial anyway. And it says that hers is eligible. So I did a bit of research here. Okay, so contacted our local Apple authorized reseller. Now, they said the process is they will have to hold the phone for 3 to 4 days and wait for Apple to send through the temporary replacement iPhone. And I thought, okay, let's see if Apple themselves have a better option. So they have an express option. So you have to pay $29 for this, but they send you the temporary iPhone first and they hold the charge of that iPhone on your credit card. So if they don't receive your faulty phone within 10 days, they will charge it to essentially stop you from stealing it. Now, they then said they then send the fixed phone back and you return the temporary one. But the reseller seemed to think that in some cases, they kind of, let you keep the replacement rather than sending yours back. So we haven't actually proceeded with any of these yet, but the option's definitely there. And I definitely think she should take that up. Third option is you can do an in-store swap. Unfortunately, Apple Store in my location is about 5 hours drive away. So I don't have that many opportunities to do it, but definitely would. And there is finally a standard post option where you post your phone and they send the temp and then you do swap back. But of course, that's probably going to be the longest option there. So yeah, bit of news.
So what do you think you're going to go with?
I reckon the express option. I just think the going, minimum 3 to 4 days or, whatever without a phone is just, you're going to have to kind of find an older unit to back up on, or even just use another phone altogether. And yeah, I just think that it's worth it. And hey, you get a battery replacement out of it, and maybe possibly a fresher phone. Unfortunately, she's got a couple of screen cracks there, so I kind of hope that maybe she'd send hers in, they'd try to replace the battery and the screen would just fall apart, and that issue let you keep the temporary. But yeah,
so I assumed, okay, that makes sense. I actually thought it was a different phone that you got. I guess, given the fact that I don't own a 6S, I wasn't paying that much attention to the story. I kind of just thought it was like a recall on those ones and an Apple Care replacement style thing. Okay. So, yeah. I know in the past when you've had like a cracked screen and they had some other issue with the device, you would still get a new device because it's not in, like, the issue wasn't the cracked screen. So yeah, that reminds me of an issue I've been having with my iPad Pro, only the 9.7 inch one. It just randomly has like these springboard crashes where it just reboots for it only takes about 10 seconds, but it just like randomly switches off and then back on. And it's not one of those reboots where you have to re-enter your PIN. It's just straight back into using Touch ID. So yeah, I think that's going to end up being their next problem.
Yeah, waiting for an iPad Pro battery recall or whatever it is. Maybe it might be fixed with a software update, hopefully. But still, yeah, I mean, it is good that they did come out with this, because she'd been having the issue, as I said, since iOS 10 came out, the public release. And so it's only sort of like a few months, and then they've announced this battery replacement program. So, I reckon we'll go ahead with it and we'll let everyone know how it goes.
So they said the issue there was due to ambient air. I don't think anyone really knows what ambient air really means, because I guess when I think of ambient, it's just really I think of like the air around something anyway on the side of it. So it's like the air on the side of the air is what
I think it's kind of like, let's create the most vague and confusing excuse and it'll sound realistic. So anyway, so we'll let you know how that goes. But yeah, we may get a new device out of this. But speaking of new devices, Nick, you've got a bit of news here.
I just got a smile on my face. So there've been a few ups and downs, I would say, about whether I was going to ever get one, but I ended up because I decided I was going to get it, then got the battery case for my iPhone 6, and that lasted me about 2 months. And then I decided I was going to get the 7 Plus again, and then decided against it. And now recently I just followed through and ended up getting a jet black 7 Plus, 128 gigs. So yeah, I'm really, really been pleased with it so far. It's been awesome. I've tried out the portrait mode. It's so much better than in store. So yes. I was convinced then I was just going to get the normal 7, even though I hated my 6 size. And then when I just thought, no ways, I'm not doing another year, or depending on whether I get the next one, because it's the 10-year anniversary.
Of course.
I'm just going to get the one I want now. So I got the Plus, and portrait mode is really, really cool. I've just tried it out a couple of times and it's been awesome. 2x zoom also. There are actually 2 shots on my Instagram that if the listeners want to go check them out, that were shot with that. So it's been really great. I really like 3D touch. I think that's been fun. I know a lot of people have had it for a year longer than I have, but coming from the 6, 3D touch is really cool. I really want it on the next iPad. So I know we've spoken extensively about the True Tone display and wide color gamut, and I think the 3D touch would just take the whole display module to a whole different level. So
definitely,
yeah, I'm really hoping for that. As everyone knows, I love iPads. So, but yes, I'm really enjoying the phone. Everything is blazingly fast. I'm amazed. So yes, it's been absolutely crazy. I've gotten a case for the first time ever for an iPhone that I've kept a case on. Usually I go without a case, but I ended up getting the Apple black leather one, and Michelle also got the same jet black 7. So for the first time, she got a black device and got the white case, which looks a lot better than a white device with a black case.
Yep.
But it looks good.
Yeah, it's cool. So is this like, so you bought a case for the jet black? Is that because you're worried about fingerprints and micro abrasions and stuff, or?
Yeah, more so the micro abrasions than the fingerprints. So yeah, it's just, I guess, that versus like a drop protection kind of thing. Because yeah, but even with the case on, the little bits of jet black that stick out are really, really nice at the bottom of the phone and the side, so, and the back with the camera. So yeah, it's really cool. The quick case reviews, that's awesome too. The leather is really fine quality, so I'm enjoying it. I really, really am, and I would recommend anyone who thought they should wait for the next phone and is on a 6. I don't see a good enough reason to not get it. It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really
that's
good.
cool. I like, this is the cool thing, is that Nick kind of sends me, he doesn't sort of really tell me he's exactly going to go and do something, and then he suddenly sends me a picture of a box and a bag. I was like, oh, what's this going to be? And what's it this time? He did it with the Nike watch, and he did it with the 7 Plus this time. So
And the mic.
And the microphone.
But yeah, today I got another one. I got the HomeKit lights for the Philips Hue HomeKit lights.
Cool.
But when I got home, so we just recently moved, and I just like opened the light casing and realized that it's not a traditional light thing. It's like these little LEDs, so those have to go back tomorrow.
Oh,
so
no.
Maybe I'll have a new band to review in the new year.
I'm really stoked for you. You must have a bit of a new lease of life with a phone that's not chugging along.
Oh, yeah.
And so speaking of glossy black phones, just a quick diversion. Samsung have confirmed that for the S7 and S7 Edge that they are releasing a black pearl color option. Wow, I didn't see that coming. That's quite funny. Cool for Samsung owners though, because it is a awesome color, glossy black. So a bit jealous there. But a little other side note is that Samsung have they're issuing an update to Note 7 units to stop them from working. That's how bad the Note 7 case has become. That's insane.
They're literally turning it into a proper brick. It can do nothing. It won't light up. It will literally just sit there. Yeah, so I know the reviewers were really happy with the design on the Note 7. That's literally all you'll be left with, is a nice looking object.
Yes.
I'm not going to even call it a phone.
But it'd be like, oh, this is nice. Don't touch it, might explode. So,
Yeah.
Okay. Completely going to flip it around. Apple released their first documentary. This was exclusive to Apple Music, called 808 The Movie. Now, I posted about this on our social media accounts. So this came out on the 10th of December for Australia. Okay, so 808, what is that? It's Roland, so that's the music instrument creator. They have a iconic TR-808 programmable drum machine. So that is what an 808 is, a drum machine. Mainly huge from when it was launched in the early 80s and onwards. So it's had huge influence on rhythm and beats, kind of like the same level of influence that you would apply to, say, the Fender Stratocaster did for guitar and leads. So that's pretty awesome. A lot of people would recognize, particularly from, certain albums that came out during the 80s. You got that iconic deep kick and the ticky snare and hand claps and the hi-hat and, of course, cowbell. So it's been narrated by Zane Lowe, of course, from Beats One. Features a ton of guests, so they're primarily from sort of hip-hop and dance music, but also features a bunch of other producers. These include people like Pharrell, Questlove from The Roots, David Guetta, Beastie Boys, the legendary producer Rick Rubin, and people like Phil Collins, and the list goes on. It's absolutely packed full of guests. So I managed to watch it, and I think the most interesting part I got out of it is it shows the progression of how the 808 was used. So a really cool part that I liked is when one of the guests said about how they had turned on the decay to full to use 808 purely as bass, and then they combined that with other equipment to tune the bass. So not only was it a drum machine, it became like a synthetic, like bass lines and everything, so that's pretty crazy. There are a few funny parts, like with with Mike D and Ad Rock from Beastie Boys trying to remember how MCA had used the 808 in early on in their career. They're not really sure if he reversed it or if he flipped the tape or whatever, so that was pretty cool. But it's all sort of examples of how people took this drum machine and it just took like the world by storm, created its own little subgenres within itself. As I said, massive for hip hop and dance music. And the very best part is at the end. The creator of the 808 is talking about how they achieved its iconic sound. But I'd say just if you subscribe to Apple Music, go watch it, as that's sort of a bit of a spoiler. So are you going to get a chance to check it out?
Hopefully I'll get to check it out soon. So I actually didn't know much about the 808 before hearing that Apple Music would have an exclusive. I used to be more of a fan, but I'm a fan of Kanye West, and he had that album 808s and Heartbreak, and I must say that I never ever knew or thought to look up what the 808s part was for, but now I know. So
yeah, I mean,
it's enlightened me, and I hope to check it out really soon. I'm sure I'll enjoy it.
I was hoping they would expand a little bit more on the genres, because 808s actually very much made its way into, you know, alternative rock and like heavier music and that sort of thing, kind of the stuff that I listen to. I've even used a bit of sampled 808 in bands I've been in the past. So it's definitely it's had an effect on a wide scope of musical genres. So if that's sort of your thing, or you want a bit of music history, or if you're into that type of music, or you're a producer yourself, definitely go check it out. So we're going to move on to Romeo. Now, we previously mentioned a few episodes ago about a 10.5 inch iPad Pro, but it's kind of looking like it might be a 10.9 inch now. Now, we're expecting some sort of March event, some iPad launch, so to speak. So what's actually the differences here, Nick? What's going to make this 10.9 what's the big change here?
Yeah, so right now it's still up and down. I'm a bit hesitant to lock in what the most recent rumors say. So I suppose given that it's a March launch, it should be locked down pretty soon. But they reckon that the top bezel will remain roughly the same size, and this is, we assume, mostly to do with the FaceTime camera. Then the side bezels will be reduced and the home button removed. So the home button removal, I think for me is one of those things where, is it due to a translation where I think of home button removal as no button at all, so even the Force Touch button like the iPhone 7, but I wonder if they mean the mechanical button. So it will be interesting to see, because there's also the rumor for the next iPhone to not have any button at all and just purely be screen. So originally, I think the rumor was interpreted to be that the iPad would lead the way with that.
Yeah.
And I think that would be absolutely awesome. I would be really, really keen to check that out. So yeah, hopefully. I know originally, like in the very beginning, they said it would be completely bezel-less, the new iPad. I think that would be awesome. I don't know. I guess we'll really see, but overall we can expect a reduced bezel and a larger display, and either Force Touch or no home button. So
yes,
yeah.
It's also a question that a lot of people are asking is why that incremental size difference. So it's looking like that they've sort of created, or rumored to create this particular size due to actually education and enterprise. So a lot of schools and businesses and that kind of finding that the current standard iPad size is that little bit too small, and the largest iPad Pro is too large. So that in itself is quite interesting. I think they could probably achieve the screen size without much changing the size of the actual physical hardware itself, purely by removing bezels and so on. So I mean, the side bezels on the current iPad are quite thin anyway. So even if I don't mind if it's not completely edge to edge. If there's like a small few mils there, that's fine. That kind of gives the illusion of being edge to edge anyway. I've always been a little bit skeptical of complete edge to edge displays in something like a tablet because it seems that little bit more prone to breakage, but without obviously having curved sides or anything. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely excited, always excited for new changes in Apple products and that sort of thing. I could probably say right now I wouldn't be in the market for it purely because having my MacBook Pro, my iPad's definitely become less and less used, more of just a reader of digital magazines and the odd bit of testing and that. But hey, you yourself are a big iPad fan, so could you see, given these rumors, if they were true, could you see yourself wanting to get one?
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
No questions.
But for me, it's kind of, I'm really looking for Force Touch on the iPad, mainly because I see now that I've got the iPhone 7, just how there's not much that extra that you can do. It just makes everything so much better. And I think there are, like, you can clear all notifications with Force Touch.
Yep.
Small things, but I think the engineers at Apple are really they're giving extra features to those devices. So I'm hoping the iPad can get in there. Just, replying to a message on my iPad versus my iPhone is now different, and I prefer them not to be different.
Yes, of course. Yeah, because it kind of gets a bit, you do things all the time and you sort of build this muscle memory and these types of actions, and you go to do it on another device and it doesn't happen. It feels restrained. So yeah, definitely to have them all working in the same manner would be awesome. Since iOS 10, I've definitely used 3D Touch more. So even stuff like previously, when Apple News came out, I still was in that mode of going to Safari and using my favorites and that sort of thing. Whereas now I've, with that additional bit of 3D touch and that, Apple News just is easy to just 3D touch the icon and access exactly which news source I want to. So just little things like that. And as you're saying, clearing all the notifications, I use replying to texts in the pop-up notifications and on the lock screen way more. Like, I use it so much. So that in itself, I think that you take that fact and put it in an iPad and it would be awesome. Yeah.
So the thing with Apple News, while we're on that, I'm just going to have a mini rant, is sometimes, so I click on a lot of links from Twitter into Apple News and they just end up loading on top of one another, and there's no back to home button. So I have to press this little back button about 6 or 7 times to get back to the home screen, like the home Apple News screen where all the For You section is. So it's that, on a side note, would be great if they fixed.
Yeah, there are certain little niggles I've found with things like Apple News and that I'd say definitely some improvements need to be made, but overall I have a pretty good experience. There's other things with Apple News, such as formatting that doesn't translate itself, things like ampersands being shown in HTML form and little things like that, or just not showing embedded videos straight away. You kind of like find large gaps before kind of a YouTube video appears, but still, it's a good clean way to read some things. You avoid a lot of the adverts and clutter you get on websites. But I will. I'll be interesting to see what they do come iOS 11, assuming that they do their sort of token updates to their first-party apps.
One might wonder what the final nail in the coffin was for me getting my iPhone 7 Plus, and there was an ad that was released in the last week. It was a Romeo and Juliet ad, and anyone who knows me knows my take on Romeo and Juliet, and so
this is all news to me, by the way. I have no idea.
Oh yeah. No, it's best we leave that for another later time.
Okay.
But so. Essentially, it starts with Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo, the classic line, and it's like younger children playing the part, and so eventually the scene plays out, and it cuts to the dad filming I guess one of them is their kid during the school play, and so on his iPhone 7 Plus using the 2x zoom, and the other thing is the caption is, I think it's iPhone 7 Plus. It makes movies look like movies, something like that. Yeah. So it's quite smart. I like the ad. It was good. One of the better ones recently. I enjoy all the ads, but it was quite entertaining.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a bit biased because I have it, but the 7 looks beautiful. So.
Oh yeah, I really I think the best part about this ad is it doesn't drag on too much as well. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It gets to the point quite quickly, and just having the parent filming it at the end, and as you said, the product itself looks awesome. Even just that quick little glimpse of him using the 2x optical zoom sells a specific feature very well. It all makes sense. It's not so vague like the lights ad that we talked about in the last episode. So, and that one's quite a bit longer as well. So, yeah, I think this one definitely works very well in that case. And I'd be interested to think that they may release another Plus ad showing off portrait mode. I'd expect maybe that to come around soon.
Yeah. Hopefully when the jet white iPhone comes out.
Yes, the glacier white.
I was just going to say.
I was actually thinking of maybe it could be called polar white. Like something that polar sounds more white. But anyway, that was just me thinking out loud there.
Or like milk white, and then they can use that tagline, got milk, but then they might get in trouble with the other brand who it actually belongs to.
It'd be another court case, like just to add to the list of court cases. So, and some other quick... We're talking about short ads. These next 4 ads I'm about to mention are very short. So Apple Watch Series 2 have a series of ads called Go Play, Go Run, Go Dance, and Go Out. So I've definitely seen the Go Run one a lot before watching.
Was it sponsored on one of your feeds?
It's I mainly saw it before watching YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's where it popped up the most. And the funny thing was, it popped up and the music was playing, and then my wife goes, "Oh, what are you listening to? Like, this isn't the sort of music you usually listen to." I'm like, "Oh no, it's actually just an ad." And then I looked, I was like, "Hang on, it's an Apple Watch ad." So, but yeah, so I think these do the job pretty well. Do you sort of want to quickly explain what happens?
Oh yeah. So they're basically self-descriptive. I can't remember exactly each one, but they've got. I know the Go Run is with the Apple Watch Nike Plus version, and I know that specifically because I've got that one. I was like, oh, there's an ad for something I already have. So it was quite cool. I always look out for if there's something that I don't know how to do yet that it will show me. So the guy basically goes out for the run. I think the Go Play is a lady playing soccer with a nice. I think it's got the product Red Band, which looks really cool.
Yep.
There's the Go Out and Go Dance, which I think we're quite similar visually. I can't remember, but I remember messages popping up in one of them, and essentially it's just, I guess they just showcase a little bit of what you can do with the device on each one of them. As you say, they're quite quick and really to the point. So,
have you noticed that actually a lot of us, particularly the online ads, like say when the MacBook Pro came out and the one that they're running, I've seen it on Facebook all the time. The actual editing style of a lot of these Apple ads is that real quick edits, quick shots, like slow-mo, fast, all that sort of stuff. Everything's really snappy. And I really like it. It's really slick. And it definitely, it captures your attention, and it's great for, particularly when they're using it on social media. People obviously have a lot shorter attention span scrolling through timelines and such. So I think they really nailed it there. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to move on to appetizers. Now, this section of the podcast is usually reserved for reviewing an app, but this one actually isn't coming out yet, but it's coming out this week. So big one for me, I'm super excited, Super Mario Run. So it's coming out on December 15th, the same day as Rogue One. Super exciting day for me. Just a bit of a side note there. Okay, so a lot of you would have seen this all over social media by now anyway. The main part of the game features 24 courses over 6 worlds, much like you'd expect from a Mario game. Also features a couple of other modes called Toad Rally and Kingdom Builder. You can actually play it in-store at the Apple Store right now, but of course...
I've embarrassingly been there 3 times, or actually 4 times since, and every single time I forget. I was there today. I'm just going to tell you when I go to the store next, and then
take some photos.
You can just remind me. I'll go tomorrow to take back my light, and I won't end up playing it because I'm just going to forget. But I really want to, so I should.
And it's all right because I know, say, myself, I'm much more of a fan of it, so I'd definitely be thinking about it as I walked into the store. But, obviously Apple have a whole lot of stuff you can check in the store, particularly a large one such as the Sydney one that you visit. So
yeah, but this is the first time I think they've ever done anything like this, where they've showcased an app. Well, basically, in such a big way, they launched the notify ability in the App Store, which I never got notified yet. I didn't know if they were going to notify when it's actually out or when
I think when it's out.
They announced the date.
Yeah,
so this is pretty cool. They're obviously all in on Mario. It's no surprise. It's not a small title.
Yeah, this is just, as I said, when they had the keynote, when Shigeru Miyamoto came out, and I was just smiling from ear to ear, and I was doing the exact same thing with his appearance on Jimmy Fallon. So, yes, recently on the last Jimmy Fallon episode, he himself is standing there with Reggie Fils-Aime from Nintendo of America, and he's going to do a live play of a level of Super Mario Run in front of his whole audience. Jimmy Fallon himself, you can see from this video, is a massive Nintendo fan, so he's freaking out. I'm getting excited that he's getting excited. Reggie, he's been around back since the days of, at least I can remember, from GameCube and Nintendo Wii, so he's been there for a long time. Kind of looks like Donkey Kong, which I think is cool. And the best bit was he goes, "Oh, there's a guest in the crowd." And he goes, and he's like, "Yes." I'm guessing he knew he was there. But yeah, Shigeru himself was sitting in the crowd watching him, bit of extra stress, but that itself was awesome. So he plays the level, looks cool, exactly as you expect from the side-scrolling Mario games, but with that constantly running factor. So it's not quite as fluid in the sense of jumping around. Like, you still can jump, but because he's constantly moving, that factor's a bit different. But it's great that they've adapted such a well-known game, well-known IP to be played one-handed. Like, that in itself is awesome. And and there was a bit after with the Nintendo Switch was I was super excited about as well. Obviously not to do with Super Mario Run, but a bit of a side note there.
I saw EB Games had like a placeholder price at $999. Do you think that?
No,
for the Switch, that's just like completely placeholder.
Yeah,
right?
No, people expect. Yeah, no, definitely. I
Side note.
I wouldn't say so. I'd say probably $449.
Yeah,
yeah, I reckon
we now are a
video game
Apple
podcast
and Nintendo podcast. Yeah,
but yeah, sorry, a bit of a side note there. But it's so much in the way that we talk about Samsung and Google every now and then. It's all kind of related. And they finished off, which was just super, super awesome, was Shigeru playing the Super Mario theme tune with the Roots, which is also a crossover to the fact that the Roots drummer was in the 808 documentary. So everything's linked, Illuminati. Okay, but there's been a bit of a downer. So it's not out yet, but we found out that you need a persistent internet connection to play it. So Nintendo say this is because of software piracy. They're really worried about, obviously this is their first foray in bringing such a large IP into other people's hardware. So that is the reason for that. They said that...
I wonder what it actually does to stop software piracy, though, because I guess they're concerned that someone just copies the code into Xcode and just launches it completely on their own. And I'm assuming they would have built in the internet dependency, and so they would know that another maker is using it. I just wonder exactly what it does to stop software piracy.
Yeah, I think it's much in the way of like your subscription software where, I mean, that's a bit different because you can use subscription software offline for a bit, but then it'll prompt you after X amount of days to, get back online sort of it'll stop working unless you get back online, sort of thing, to verify your subscription. So I'm kind of thinking something along the lines of that. If anyone knows specific details of how this works, we'd love to find out about it. But bit of a bummer in the sense that you wouldn't be able to use it on a plane, or if you, like where I live, particularly if you go further out. I mean, we want to head out of town for a bit over Christmas and there's no reception there, which means no internet, which means no Super Mario Run. But
yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
And you wonder about people playing in like the subway or the trains. Underground, you don't always have the greatest connection. So that's just the exact place where I just imagine people holding in their one hand, holding the public transport handle, and the other hand, they just got their phone flicking away at Super Mario Run. And
I think it would work in the sense that it says persistent internet connection, but I think, let's say if your reception dropped out or something, that it would probably let you finish the level. I reckon it'd have to be something like that, because if it was just cutting out as soon as your internet dropped out, it's just going to absolutely like kill it for, the success of this app here.
But it's not all doom and gloom. There's something to look forward to with that?
Yeah, so Shigeru himself said that, so World Tour being the main part of the game, they definitely want to make that playable offline, meaning, you don't need your internet connection at some point. So, yeah, there's definitely hope there yet. For me, mostly, I mean, I have Wi-Fi, here, and I have Wi-Fi at work, and not that I'm meant to be playing games at work, but you know what I mean. And yeah, basically, it's not a huge issue for me. It's more the sense of the fact that they're sort of like, okay, you can be playing it on the train, you can be playing it, eating a burger, blah, 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 like they did in the showcasing it. So, yeah, if you're going through a tunnel and your game stops, I'm waiting for like a big collective sigh heading into a tunnel of like all these people playing Super Mario. But yeah, little bit of a downer on an exciting announcement, but comes out this week. I think they didn't actually confirm the pricing. I think it was $14.99 Australian.
I think that's right.
Yeah, but I'll definitely be getting it and tweeting about Star Wars at the same time. So
I'm going to make a prediction that for Apple's Best of 2017, that Super Mario Run is going to win Game of the Year. I don't think it necessarily has to launch in that year for the very first time. So, even if an app is updated or just really successful in that year, it can win. So I'm going to call it right now that in a year's time, Super Mario Run will be the best game of 2017.
Yes, I really hope so. And also in the sense that, okay, Pokemon Go had such a huge uptake at first, but the game itself was buggy. It wasn't quite what people wanted. People are still playing, but nowhere near to the volume. And I just think that the fact that this is Nintendo making themselves, it's not, Pokemon Go was Niantic Labs, whereas this is, Nintendo have kind of gone all in on this, and I think they would have done a lot of testing on it. So aside from the whole internet persistent factor, I'm expecting a big success for them here, which is really cool. But yeah, you mentioned Best of 2017. We actually have Best of 2016 here. So it turns out Phil Schiller said that November this year was a record breaker for App Store sales, which is pretty cool. Now, there's a whole load of awards that come under Best of 2016, but we're going to leave it to just two big categories of apps. So App of the Year. So what are the 4 apps that got the award?
So on the iPhone, it was Prisma, which is like a photo creative app, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
then there's iPad. For iPad, it was Sketchbook Motion. For Apple Watch, My Swim Pro, which I think was very targeted at highlighting their
waterproof,
water resistance, and GPS features, like the only 2 features of the Series 2. And then for Apple TV, it was Twitter, and I think that's in large part due to NFL live streaming on the Twitter app. And so, I think, and I'm not surprised, but there was also a Mac App Store App of the Year, which I have not even looked at yet.
No, I think
it's Bear.
Yeah.
Bear is a beautiful writing app for notes and prose.
Yeah.
So yes, there's that too. If you want to check that out, I know basically everyone forgets about the Mac App Store.
Yeah, I would agree too. I very rarely go on there. I should go on there more often.
I used to go on there so much more.
I remember when it was first announced, when like, Apple has its own like app store for the Mac, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And I remember that first year using it, and then just after that, you sort of became so much more concerned with the app stores on your iOS devices that just sort of got pushed away a bit. But it's sort of how it goes anyway. The Mac itself, MacBook, iMac, is all still very much a large part of Apple, but nowhere near to the amount that iPhone, iPad and such are. So I can understand why that was sort of a little bit of a side note. But yeah, just before we kind of mention the games of the year, out of those 4 apps, do you actually use many of them? I mean, I've used Prisma a bit, really quite impressed with some of its retention of detail that it does when you apply. So you're essentially applying different art styles to a photo, and it can make them, the results look very, digitized, but some just look incredible, like they actually were hand painted. And so that in itself, I can definitely understand why that took off, because there are a lot of sort of filter related photo editing apps. But this one itself was definitely one of the more unique ones. I haven't used Sketchbook Motion before, definitely need to get back more into iPad use for that. Of course, can't use My Swim Pro, don't have the watch. And Twitter on Apple TVs, I think it's more one of those things that, as you say, because of the NFL, that's why it got popular. But NFL, as we mentioned previously, not popular here. So kind of yet to get into that one. So yeah, what about yourself?
Yeah. I've used none of those. I have my set workflows. I don't usually get a new app and implement it into my usage. So, and especially on the main 2 devices that I use, being the iPad and iPhone, Prisma, although I can imagine a lot of people liking it, I like my photos to be quite photorealistic. So, I do very little editing on them, and then Sketchbook Motion, I don't think would look that great with the stick figures that I can draw. So yes, not my strong suits there. So, and again, swimming, not much for me there either. But I guess I have my own apps of the year, which might be worthwhile getting our own ones out there. So yeah,
I can't really think off the top of my head of ones that I used a lot that weren't first party.
So I think for me on the iPhone would be Reddit.
Yep.
Because I used Reddit quite a bit, and that they launched their app this year, which has made its way onto my home screen, my very first screen on my phone. So I'll definitely give that one a go. And then I think I know I just moaned about not being able to draw, but actually Pixelmator is pretty good, or Swift Playgrounds for iPad was a really great app. But going Aussie, Procreate is made in Tasmania, and it's a fantastic app that really does deserve at least our iPad App of the Year award, even if I'm useless at using it fully.
Ones like I use Instagram side apps a lot. I use Boomerang a bit, but particularly Layout.
That is cool.
Boomerang's awesome. And it's definitely getting more popular. I see a lot of them around. And Layout's just super handy. There's a lot of those collage kind of style apps, but a lot of them add sort of crappy frames and that sort of stuff to it. It's real tacky, and Layout is just like the slickest, real easy to use, obviously directly, related to Instagram. So that one's a big one that I use. I use a fair bit of streaming apps, the ABC iView on iPhone, Netflix a fair bit. I actually use the VLC media player app a bit.
Yeah, I use that quite a bit too.
So
I think that would probably be my Apple TV app of the year.
Yeah, no, it's cool. But there's a lot of first party apps that I use a fair bit. But hey, if anyone else has particular apps they want to talk about, be sure to let us know when we mention our social media accounts at the end of this episode. So the next part of the awards was Game of the Year. I don't often play games on iPhone and iPad. I played the old ones that are sort of a bit more artistic, like I said, with typewriter and stuff like that. But here's the ones that won. So iPhone got Clash Royale, kind of like a medieval style game, but in that sort of cartoony form. Yeah. iPad got Severed, which I think looks cool. It's kind of like the zombie fruit ninja. But I love the art style of that. Apple Watch got Field Day. I'm not really into farming games, but hey.
I'm not into gaming on an Apple Watch. I love my Apple Watch, but I don't even have one game on it.
And that's fair enough. I kind of wouldn't even. That's not the first thing that springs to mind, or probably even the fifth thing that springs to mind. And Apple TV, when I first got the latest Apple TV, I downloaded a bunch of games. Rayman was pretty cool on it. Some of the races, they were cool, but sometimes with just your sort of motion control of steering can be a little bit not so quick to get used to at first, but the fact that you can use the remote as a controller was awesome. And I love the sort of abstract puzzlers and stuff like that. There's a few that I got for Apple TV, but it's more just a case of you mainly sit down in front of your TV, at least for me, to be watching content, with streaming stuff from Netflix and that. And so games are there, but they're a bit of an afterthought for me. But the one that won was Riptide GP Renegade, kind of like a sort of futuristic jet ski style one.
It looks really cool. I think they have it on the Apple TV apps in store, so I might check it out before I buy it.
Yeah, and stuff like I used to be into things like F-Zero and Extreme G and a lot of those sort of fast-paced futuristic races. So this definitely would be up my alley. And you kind of noted down that there's a Mac game that won. So what's this?
It's called Life is Strange, which I think is quite a good way to end this one off, especially on the Mac App Store. And I don't quite know what it does. Find your way as Max, a teenager struggling to follow the road less traveled and make her mark on the world. Yeah, so I guess that says what it means to say.
It's definitely becoming our most gaming focused episode yet. So still, hey, I'm sure it's pretty cool. It's just a matter of giving it time to have a go. Of course, as mentioned before, if anyone has particular games they want to talk about, then you just let us know, comment on the stuff that we post, and we'll be sure to give you our thoughts on that. Now, we were sort of talking about races before, vehicles as such. There's been a little bit of progress in Apple's foray into vehicles, so what's this?
Yeah, so if anyone thinks my buying decisions are up and down like a yo-yo, I think Apple's autonomous car project is up and down like a yo-yo, because 1 minute they're fully making a car, then it's the software, then they're completely out of the game, and now they've written a letter to one of the US roads agencies or transport agencies because apparently it is more difficult for new entrants into the market to get approval to test cars on public roads than it is for existing players in the market, the Volkswagen and BMWs of the world. So by more difficult, I don't think they actually need any specific approval on a per car basis. So Apple basically wrote a letter to that body saying that stifles innovation and it should not, basically they should be allowed, I guess, to participate.
Yeah, and this was sort of that interesting part that happened recently with Tesla, talking about kind of in talking to the American government, basically saying that autonomous vehicles are going to, obviously, they're made to be safe and they're all, they're autonomous, and so you wouldn't expect to have crashes in them. And so they're sort of saying by the government restraining, Tesla to be able to bring their vehicles, self-driving vehicles, into reality, that it was a really weird way of saying it. They're kind of saying, like, by bringing our vehicles into reality and onto the roads, it will reduce, like, massively reduce road deaths. And so it's kind of like, by preventing us from doing that, you're letting deaths happen. It was pretty crazy.
Smart arguing point. It's like you are costing lives by not allowing us to save lives.
So guilt trip much?
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy, but I definitely it is going to be like self-driving cars, all these autonomous systems. It's the next huge step for technology. Obviously, so many people are going to be very apprehensive about it. I mean, okay, they brought out, so when iPhone first came out, smartphones and that was one thing. But when it comes to actual safety, road safety, people's lives, there's going to be, I envision like a very long, gradual process into them becoming the standard. Sort of what's your feel on that?
Yeah, so autonomous cars are a particular interest of mine. So I think my personal belief is that they'll happen quicker than people think they will now. And the whole enjoyment of driving barrier will very quickly disappear once it becomes evident how useful they are. And I think, I do agree that it will take a while for Apple to become a really well-known player. I think it's taken Tesla quite a while. They certainly in a place now where with the new Model 3 launch, they massively increased their orders and their market share. And I think a similar thing will happen with Apple once they get their whole like manufacturing and supply chain things all sorted. As we know, Apple is famous for having a really good supply chain integration. So yeah, let's see what happens. Hopefully they do make something compelling and make a success out of it, and the whole Steve Jobs would never have done this thing can finally go away. Or I'm just so tired. Even today I read a comment, I'm just like, come on, really, still about Steve Jobs?
Yeah, it's pretty it's just dragging on a lot. It's past.
But I just think it's bots at this point. Like someone's just created a bot so that anything with Apple would just be like
Steve Jobs.
No.
Yeah. I guess the only thing is with these autonomous vehicles, and that is if Samsung take it upon themselves to release a Note 4x4, I am not getting into that car.
Yeah, I don't think many people will be.
Maybe they could use it in the demolition derby or something, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, AirPods. We've been waiting. We've been talking about AirPods here and there. What is happening with them?
You say that like we have some good news. We've been waiting and we're still waiting.
We're still waiting.
Essentially.
And so, yeah, it turns out that the reason for the delay is maybe due to the fact of the dual Bluetooth connectivity. So, I mean, I can understand that, but everyone's sort of been waiting for so long. And obviously you don't want to launch a product and it be faulty, but there's no way it's going to come out this month.
Yeah, because there's not much that can be holding it back. We know that they able to produce them given the fact that they've given some prototypes to reviewers, and that was with the iPhones when they gave them the review units. We know that they've managed to manufacture the W1 chip and increase battery life of those devices, given that they have the Beats Solo 3s out, the Power Beats 3s out, and so we know that those two elements are there. It's just, I guess those, and the other thing is the Beats X haven't launched, which they may be having similar issues with, but people just don't pay as much attention because the AirPods are so much cooler.
Yeah, it's always a bit strange to have kind of like a January product launch. It's sort of like, hey, the big Christmas spend's over, but I'm sure there's plenty of people out there, ready to get their hands on them. I'm interested to know. I mean, given all this delay, it's kind of, maybe it's made people anticipate them even more. But I'm kind of it's losing a bit of the excitement factor for me, just because it's like, oh, come on, bring them out already. So finally, in the last thing for 2016, what's your final feeling on AirPods at this stage?
Well, I'm a little bit confused because I'm pretty sure I saw someone, it was a parody account, tweet that they had seen like a Facebook ad, one of the Apple's Facebook ads that you can't just go click and find, with the like AirPods available now. So it seemed like they were imminent. And then it was like order before Christmas. So I don't know if he had just done a good Photoshop thing, but anyway, I think we'll see them in January, hopefully early January, so I can get them for my birthday.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And I just found out Nick's birthday, so there you
go. once Christmas hype dies down, my birthday hype increases, and because someone will have already gotten me the Design by Apple in California book,
of course,
I need another Apple product roughly around $229.
and they can be, and because they're both white, they're color matched. So
exactly, and I said a couple of episodes ago that I like the aesthetic of the jet black phone and the white AirPods.
Yep.
Yes, in that they also have the Apple Watch Edition ceramic that's a bit out of the realm at this point, but yes, what do you make of AirPods? When do you think you will see them?
It's got around the third week of January, I reckon, kind of like people sort of coming back from holidays maybe, but yeah, I want them to come out already. I want to see them in real life. I want to, try and see how it feels. But yeah, I still think they're cool. I use the current style of Apple AirPods, which is the same shape as the AirPods, so there'd be no, adjustment there. I think it'd be really good because I do listen to music and podcasts going for walks, and the wires are becoming a bit of a drag if they kind of get tugged on or whatever. So that part is cool, but at the same time, I think the Beats lineup is awesome too. Not so much the ones that wrap over your ears, but yeah, there's a few options there, so that's pretty cool. They're not forcing everyone onto just AirPods, so they're definitely thinking of different styles there. But hey, we'll be sure to let you know as soon as we have an official date for these. Okay, Nick, that wraps up 2016.
Yep. The year we launched this podcast. So
yes, of course. It's
good year.
It's been around 9 months. So if the podcast was our baby, it would be here. Sort of, if I think like that's kind of strange, but anyway, a little bit sci-fi, probably stuck in Star Wars mode. But okay, so yeah, if anyone wants to get updates between now and the next episode when we return in early January, of course, you can find Apple Slice on Instagram and Facebook with Apple Slice Podcast, on Twitter with Apple Slice AU.
Yeah, I just want to take a quick moment about the rating and review. We read all of them, and they do mean a lot, so it's always good to hear your feedback, and it personally means a lot, and it really gives us a good reason to do the show. So
definitely,
please do rate and review.
Yes, we'd definitely love to hear any sort of feedback that you have. And yeah, while you're searching around, be sure to search Apple Slice in the podcast app, Stitcher, Now, TuneIn, or most other podcast players. So yeah, there's plenty of things lined up for 2017 for Apple Slice. Stuff including, I will get this mailing list up and running, other online sort of things to bring to you. And actually, I've almost completed a Apple Slice variation of a font. So my love for fonts continues, and I'm pretty stoked with this. So yeah, I'd like to say everyone have an Apple-licious Christmas and New Year. We'll be back with more fresh tech news in early January. So yeah, it's been a good trip with you, Nick. Very much looking forward to next year. So I'll catch you in 2017.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.